We'll call this meeting to order of the Auburn Water District for Wednesday, January 17th, 2024.
Yep, the camera's on.
Camera's on?
Yep.
And I said the first item up is item number 1, appoint a trustee president pro temp until election of officers in March. So what is your wish to do that?
So not sure on what our protocol was for this. I reverted back to our bylaws that we adopted in 2020, and it was pretty clear on the process for doing this, and that we're to elect a pro temp president until the election of officers in March, and it has to be done by ballot. So I've got ballots here. If you can take one, pass it around. If you want to circle one name that you would like to see serve as president from now for basically the January meeting, the February meeting, and then to open up the March meeting until we get to election of officers. At that point, whatever the board votes from there will run, but pass these around. Each trustee can fill those out, fold them, and then just keep passing them right back, and we'll get it over with pretty quick, I hope.
Yep.
Perfect. You're fine. You're fine.
Oh, I thought you said fold it.
Oh, folding's fine, not's fine.
And it's either that or eat it. If you don't have the result.
Fold it, just right next to it.
Just circle or indicate which candidate you're selecting for.
Any campaign
Messed up my ballot.
Out of one.
Something's wrong. Something's wrong.
All right.
Write you in.
Write-in candidate.
Right in.
Write-in
Senior guys beware.
Yeah, right now the write-ins have it now.
That's right.
So it is going to be Andy Patitis is going to be the
Oh, look at that.
president until March. So you can continue to run the meeting.
All right, well, listen, like I said,
What's that?
We're gonna need a treasurer, an interim treasurer, sir.
we need an interim treasurer, don't we? Or do I do both?
You do both.
I think you're going to do both until March. Yep.
Well, it's only for a couple of months.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Now, the only thing I do want to say is that I probably am not going to be here for March meeting.
Okay.
I mean, I have 2 then.
Okay.
18th I'm leaving for a few days.
All right, I will make note of that.
And then, I put in my application for reappointment, but I'm a little nervous after what happened last night that I don't know if I'll be around, but I hope I am.
Okay. All right, so noted.
All right, so on with the meeting. All right, item number 2, approve minutes for the regular meeting of December 20th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
Any errors or omissions or any changes that anyone want to make? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes? All opposed? We approve the minutes. Also, we need to approve the minutes of the public hearing of December 20th, 2023 regarding our proposed budget. Remember, that was a joint meeting as well as our own that day. So I offer a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve those minutes as well.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion on that or any errors or omissions? Hearing none, then I will ask for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous? Terrific. All right, we'll go on to item number 4. And excuse me for using my computer, but I've been away, so my mail is still at the post office. Item number 4 is our financial report update. Brenda Palmer.
Thank you. So I'll just start out by running through the income statement. And you can see that our sales are continuing to be slightly below budget. We continue to make up ground with interest income. And fire protection and miscellaneous operating revenue pretty much offset each other. Payroll and benefits continue to be a budget benefit, basically due to staffing issues. And some other costs that have increased, the UV treatment plant and maintenance of mains and the distribution system offset some of those gains. And also interest expense is a pretty big variance.
What's the difference between the interest expense and the interest income?
So the interest income is what is earned on like certificate of deposits mostly.
Yeah, do you have a number, do you know, or just interest versus interest?
Oh, I don't know. I can look into that for you.
No worries, just kind of curious.
I would assume that we have our money that's left over that we're not using it, a little bit better paying what's going on right now.
Yeah, I did, I put one CD as a 6-month CD earning almost 6% interest, and the other one is in a 3-month CD, just so that they're somewhat liquid and, as we get into the construction season, we're gonna need that money.
Yeah.
That's the bond money?
Yep,
So that'll help offset our cost.
yep.
Geez, we're making more in interest than.
We're paying, for sure.
Yeah, I actually saw that where, I ran the calc on what we're making, and it's like, boy, that's paying to have that.
Under expenses, the very last one, Lake Auburn watershed, the actual versus the budget, that really screamed out at me.
Yeah, we talked about that during our budget negotiations. They had some increases, but they asked for an increase, we didn't give it to them in the budget, if you remember right. They had legal fees, was it? Was that the reason for their?
No, they were looking to make the part-time staffer full-time. And so that was represented a large increase. Overall, they had proposed a 24% increase to the Auburn Water District and to the city of Lewiston. We voted on a flat increase back to them at the last meeting. I'll bring up later, but they're gonna have a budget meeting and try to figure out how to, proceed with a flat increase over last year's contributions. The staffer that was part-time did resign. So we'll have to figure that out as well.
Thank you, Mike.
I guess one other question, I think we brought it up too real quick. You talked about that. Whatever the bills are, if we go over budget, we still gave them, we gave a reason why we gave them the money anyway, because when we budget, we're gonna give them so much for the year, they don't have an open checkbook to just spend money and have us give them more just because they spend more.
Correct.
So there was a reason why this is more, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that more has to, I'll have to look into that, and I don't know the answer to that right now. I think it has more to do with the gull expenses being over than it does the commission wasn't over on their expenses.
The gulls is another total line though.
Yeah.
Right, so again, I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not-
can look into that too.
No, you said it was an accounting error last meeting, because you said that you found some issues where people were paid too much or not enough or something like that, some errors in where payments will go. That was the explanation that we got last week.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into this. I'm not recalling exactly what that was.
I do remember that being the explanation, but.
One more thing on your to-do list, Mike.
We'll get it.
Is the commission coming up later in the agenda?
Yep.
Okay, because there's a couple things I can comment on too, financial.
All right, cool. Any more questions for Brenda? Very good, thank you very much.
Okay.
All right, we'll go on to item number 5, a ratified payment of the bill.
I'd like to move that we ratify the payment of
Do
bills.
I have a second?
Second?
Okay, any discussion on the bills?
Had one question, Mike took care of it.
Anybody else have any questions on the monthly bills that we get in the reports on? Hearing none, all in favor of paying the bills? Okay, that was unanimous. All right, now item number 6 is public comment. Anybody here from the public is interested in speaking, you do so now. And, well, you don't have to limit your comments to 3 minutes. But
That would be appreciated. There's one item on a commission update that I spoke briefly with Mike about, and he's going to bring that up under that topic item on his own, and it may relate to some of what Dan was just commenting on. So my comments are very brief. I know this is a lean organization and doesn't overspend on in any area, but I think we need to do something a little to improve communications in the area of the agenda. For example, the agenda for this meeting was not posted at 3:30 yesterday afternoon. When I Googled it up at 10 o'clock this morning, it was, but you couldn't print it. There was no print icon on it. I know that that's supposed to be, I believe, the responsibility of the computer people somehow, that somebody's supposed to convey that to them, and they put it on.
No, I sent it to our web manager
Web
last
manager,
Friday.
excuse me.
They take up to 2 business days to put it onto our website. So that's why if depending on when they opened it, it didn't go on till,
Had a holiday.
would you say this morning?
10 o'clock this morning.
Monday was a holiday.
Yeah,
So that adds to it, but why it wasn't printable, I'll have to look into that.
and another item is I got my bill for the current quarter, my water bill, in the mail this morning, but it had been mailed on January 3 from some zip code beginning 39. And I don't know what's happening to the bills, but there's gonna be probably some late payments this quarter.
I'm not sure why those went out so late, but our bills go out from NDS. We load those up and they get mailed out from our utility service management company, so.
Well, it went out early enough, January 3 was the postmark date on it, but it went out from a zip code that was somewhere very remote to around here.
That's
And
Booth Bay.
beginning 39,
I don't know the zip code for Booth Bay, but that's where the
No,
company's
but-
based out
but
of.
all main zip codes begin 04.
Right.
So it's in New Hampshire, it's 03.
No, but it was 39,
Oh, 39, oh, yeah.
somewhere, I don't know, Missouri or somewhere. And it took 14 days to get to me, so
Yeah, that's the
I
post
suspect-
office.
some combination of something.
You know, you can, like, I don't even get a bill. I get an email. You can do it all online.
Oh, yeah, I could, I'm just making a more
Oh, yeah,
general
yeah.
alert here that you may have a problem. End of public comment.
Okay.
Just one word on the agenda packets. Before I was a trustee, the superintendent put me on the email list. I mean, Mr. Beal's been here multiple times. We can probably easily add you to the email list.
I usually
Yeah.
get an extra packet just when I come in.
Yeah, that-
They always print out a couple.
Yeah, it would save that printing.
I was asked by board members to take extra people off the distribution
Okay.
list and to only send it to board members and officers and have everybody else get it in the same format off from the website, so.
Do you not
I
have
don't
a
know.
public distribution list, though, that's separate from like the
Well,
board list?
once it's
We
issued, it's
used to,
public
and I was
document, so I
asked
can always
not
forward
to
it to you.
have that
Oh,
list.
I'm happy, Dan, that's
Yeah,
okay.
okay.
All right, any more public comment? I said we're
None.
done, okay? Then I'll end the public comment section. And we'll go on to item number 7, which is activity and project update. Matt.
All right, thank you. Yeah, project update, staff have been really busy. GIS tech, he has been scouring through our GIS records and our tie card records. What we're trying to establish is getting out in front of these projects. We've got a lot of work ahead of us in 2024 between the city and the DOT. We're trying to get as much preliminary work done before construction season starts. That means going out, locating our assets, assessing the condition of our assets, and making plans to either factor if they're not accessible, or if they are not operable, making a note of that, so that if we don't repair it, we put it in the roster for us to make a repair for ourselves. Now that we've done that work, we've created takeoff lists for each one of the sections of Main, 4th in particular, and Marion, of what we have over there for parts and materials. We did couple with the city of Auburn, and we're gonna be a bid alt for 2 things. One will be for having their contractor give us a price for the removal and the replacement of new infrastructure on those streets. And also to include, if we don't move forward with them and we don't replace our infrastructure there, to give us a quote for adjustments of gate valves, service valves, and structures. Project work orders have been created for these. The next thing we're gonna do is sit down with our operations team. They're gonna get a map, they're gonna get the takeoff list, they're gonna go out there and they are going to locate these and again assess the condition and make sure that we can actually locate them. That's all I have for an update as far as projects. Activity report. You can see, We had a few main investigations for some leaks. We did have a couple leaks, nothing outside the norm. And then as far as gates, we did respond to a couple calls from customers, from the public for gate valves or gate boxes, in particular that missing covers. Hydrants, we did experience a few more water quality complaints, but they have dropped off substantially compared to what we experienced in November. And crews have been busy doing winter hydrant inspections, as well as private hydrant inspections.
And we charge for a private.
We do charge for a private, yes. And each one of the private hydrants, they all have their own work order for them, so that if we ever run into an issue, we can see when we've been there, what the condition was at the last point in time we were there. New services, we just had one new service at 539 Wilson Junction. Services, we did go out to do your typical, repair service box issues. And then we do have a couple of services that do need to be dug in the springtime. We do have an active spreadsheet monitoring those, so when it does come to construction season, we know where we need to go, what services need to be addressed. Meters, everything looks normal there. Station checks, staff's continuously doing a good job with getting out to our stations and our facilities to make sure that they're secure, make sure that everything's in good operable condition and things are being maintained. And that if things aren't being maintained, need to be addressed, we're gonna get it on our schedule so we can do it on our terms, not wait for a failure. As you can see again here, we did experience probably a little over half a dozen water quality issues. Some of those were on the customer, and how we determine that is that the issue was either at one location in the residence or it was on hot water. We don't supply hot water, we supply cold water, and if there's a water quality issue, it'd be on both, not one or the other. And then laboratory information, nothing really to report there, as well as Lake Auburn information or weather. That's all I have for an activity report and project update. Does anyone have any questions? Thanks, Matt.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Okay, on to item 8, new business. And the first item of business is the Auburn City Council Order 04-010-22024. And,
All right, Jeff Parman actually sent this to me. He wanted to bring this up to the trustees, so I basically placed everything that you had sent me right into my memo, and if you want to run down through this, Jeff.
Sure, so probably all of the trustees are familiar with the order that was before the city council. The prior council, as you'll recall, took lots of actions in their last meeting relative to the watershed. They also passed a resolve directing the city to re-examine the items that were passed. There's lots of good things in there. The vast majority of it nobody has any questions with, but I think the last council realized that if they wanted to move this, since they've been working on it for a couple of years, time was running out and there were some loose ends that hadn't been resolved. So the current council has looked at this and passed an order directing staff to work with various stakeholders about the issues that are listed here. So there's sort of the usual governmental or quasi-governmental groups like LawPAC and the Water Board of Trustees and the SNRB, and there's some non-governmental advocacy groups in the community. So I think the question that I have for this group is, one, do you want to weigh in on this? Because this is you should assume there's sort of a two-step process here. City staff's gonna be casting a wide net to get feedback from people in the community. That's great. Then these sort of identifiable constituency groups, like the Water Board of Trustees, LawPAC, et cetera, will probably be meeting with city staff to actually work on crafting the language to bring to the city council, identifying particular solutions here for their consideration. So, you know, the trustees could say, hey, we just want to go give public input. They may say, you know, we want to do that, but we want to be at the table when they're working out what the solution is. So do you want to be involved in that? And if so, I guess from a trustee standpoint, what's the group's thought about what your positions are on these three issues? And to sum them up, there's the agricultural issue. There was some unfortunate, very last minute changes by legal counsel that doesn't really have any experience in agriculture, and they sort of, in broad brush, cut off agricultural activity for anything commercial, but at the same time allowed the same or even greater agricultural activities under the guise that it was somebody's hobby. So that doesn't necessarily, that doesn't necessarily mitigate the risk to the water quality, right? You know, my example's been, if I got 3 horses on one side of the road because I like horses and I ride them around my field, person across the street's got 3 horses in their field, but they're charging a fee to give riding lessons. From a water quality standpoint, 3 horses crapping on the field is the same on both sides of the road, right? So the issue here is this, to try to identify the scope and scale of agricultural activities so that's better defined. There's the issue of the inspections, and I know this group, I think, has worked quite a bit or had discussions with LawPAC and the city on this, but the current ordinance, as it stands today, requires these, at sale or on a 5-year period, the septic inspection. And it designates that it'll be done by LawPAC. Well, LawPAC doesn't currently have that capability unless this body and the water division decide and give them money to do this. They may never have that capability. So the first thing is to change sort of the construct. That's the proposal that they're looking feedback for, the construct of, instead of designating LawPAC, do this like lots of other inspections have done, and designate the property owner to use someone who has a certain, whatever certification, and do a certain inspection. And then if at some point LawPAC has a free or reduced cost program and people want to use that, great, they could use that. And then the third item, and the other piece about that is implementation. The city sees it very problematic with this 5 years. Human nature is everybody's going to wait till the 5th year, because if you don't pass, it might be a very large expense to fix your septic system. And I don't think you want to have a situation where you got 100, 200, 150, 200, 250 of these all to do in 1 year, and then you just get sporadic things over the next period of time. And then the last issue is about whether or not there should be new or expanded subsurface wastewater disposal in the watershed. The way it stands today, new construction is basically a wash. With the changes the city did, the potential new lots went from 41 to 38, which is basically a wash because you don't know what size system, depending on what type of building is put in. And all of the existing systems, the example would be is nothing to, if someone has, say, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath ranch, and they come in and get a permit, and they want to make it a 5-bedroom, 2.5-bath house, they could do that, and depending on their septic design, they may very well have to have a new expanded septic. So those are sort of the issues that the council's charged the city staff to work on and come back. There's no expectation, I would say, by the city council of what the solutions to these are. They're looking for people that have been involved in the water quality issues to weigh in and see if they can get some proposals back to address these.
Andy, for the purpose of discussion,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion. Also, we're conflicted by legal too. So the two things I would like to do is either one, table it to the next meeting, or I'd like to send a motion to send to the Sustainability Natural Resource Board, LawPEC, Protect Lake Auburn Group, that we, the trustees, support the existing ordinances which became effective on December 9, 2023.
To city staff is, you're saying, just to clear.
I'll read the motion again.
Yeah.
I motion to send to the Sustainability National Resource Board, LawPEC, and Protect Lake Auburn groups, that we, the trustees, support the existing ordinances which became effective on December 9, 2023.
If I might, I think
I need a second, and then we can discuss it.
I'll second it for the purpose of discussion.
Okay, and the reason being, with the lawsuit pending, and all the work that's gone in with all the engineers and all the consultants, and we've been involved, I think almost every single one of us, except for Eric Gould, has only been here about a year, 2 years.
Couple years, yeah.
We've been involved in this process for almost 6-7 years. I know LawPEC this last meeting, is willing to step up to the plate and pay for the inspections. One of the biggest concerns we had all through this process is the existing septic systems, and I know there are folks on the Protect Lake Auburn group that are worried, and we're also working on funding through LawPEC, and grants through the revolving grant doors and all kinds of stuff we were talking about on the commission.
Well, one question I want to ask, wasn't it the meeting when they did this, the septic ordinance part, of it, they did not delay till July?
Well, none of this, so let me clarify, because there's been a lot of misinformation and misunderstanding in the community about this. So what happened was that the initial discussion on the city council was about changing the applicability date to July, so that there would be time to work through these issues. And the second piece of that was the order directing the city staff to work with the groups about what solutions might be. At the work session, the city staff in planning and permitting raised an operational administrative issue about creating a donut hole where you'd be working with people under one standard, stop for a period of time, have to go back to the old standard, and that was going to be problematic.
Well, on the septic ordinance part, at least.
Yeah, on people trying to get permits for whatever work they wanted to do that would relate to the septic ordinance. So what the city council did is basically table that the applicability date, which in effect killed the, part of this was just a parliamentary procedure way to get this through the council, but ultimately they killed that because of the concern that staff had.
Right.
And they amended the order to the city manager by inserting a date certain by which they had to report back their recommendations to the
So this is
city.
still full force and effect, this
Right,
part of it is still
right,
in
so
force, right?
none of this has anything to do with the septic ordinance, right? So there's a bunch of other stuff in there, like, tillage,
What
setback.
consulting company, what engineer is supporting the Protect Lake Auburn group, the sustainability, is just staff? The LawPEC, we know we have consultants, but these changes they want to make, is there some sort of expert
Some kind of
science to back up the changes they want to make?
Well, I guess the question, so just so we're very clear, the this doesn't change the new septic ordinance, nor does it change the lot size change. So, in this process, if any type of engineering is required, it would be incumbent on the city to undertake whatever work they need to support any recommendations they're making. So I've had lots of people call me thinking somehow this changes the septic standard. It does, this doesn't have anything to do with the septic standard. The council is not addressing the septic standard itself, right? So on the agriculture stuff, there's a number of different state and federal organizations that the Agricultural Working Group, which is part of the SNRB, typically works with, and they have a whole host of best management practices and things that I'm assuming, I don't know this for certain, but I'm assuming that's what the ag group's gonna come forward with. The septic inspections is really, has nothing to do with the septic standard itself. It's really the administrative process of it, of inspecting it.
Well, you know, one thing I want to bring up about that too was, and again, Jeff, we've been dealing with this for many, many years, not just since the lawsuit, but before. And we were talking about the inspections. We wanted LawPac to do the inspections because an additional person would be hired to do that.
Sure.
And Lewiston Auburn would split the cost. So to have the city all of a sudden become the inspector,
No,
or
that's
have the
not-
property owner have to pay for that inspection, we want the drinking water program to know that we have a program in place that is watching the lake and is watching all these systems and making sure that things are done right without, you know, some convoluted, not a convoluted, but a kind of complicated system of, here's my report, well, we got this guy approves as an engineer, well, we don't know, and then we gotta get him approved, you know, the kind of red tape that can happen with what you were proposing, whereas if we had somebody on board, paid for by LawPac, they're doing the inspections and the reporting, and that we should, one person should be able to handle that. That's
Well,
their
they
own
might,
job.
but I'd point out two problems with this. First off, I think it's very unlikely that the city council has any intention of continuing forward with language that says, that designates in the ordinance that it's LawPac that's going to do these inspections.
Right.
And here's why. The city has no control over LawPac, and LawPac has no capability to do this today. As we sit here, no one knows if they ever will, because this body could appropriate whatever funds you want towards LawPac, but the city of Lewiston could decide not to do that, and you have no program. Or neither body funds
Well,
this.
no, that's not what it is. Our agreement is that LawPac is bill split right now 50-50. So whatever
I understand.
LawPac's budget is, and if it includes a new inspector, Lewiston can't say, oh, no, we're not gonna pay for that inspector.
They're looking,
Actually, point to this to kind of blend this all together. So there's been a lot of discussions on this, on who would do the inspections. I tend to agree with it. Seemed the cart was a little bit before the horse, passing this, just saying that LawPac would do this. Because we do not have that all written on how that will be done. Jeff is correct. There is nothing in place for the commission to start doing inspections. They have not agreed to fund the inspections at this time because they would have to be funded through us. One discussion, you know, in talking with city staff, they wanted to partner with LawPac on this, and going through LawPac does make the sense because then you would get the split from both water entities, which all makes sense. If you had the city as partner, if you had LawPac, which would get the water district and the Lewiston Water Division, but setting this all up, that one staffer that was part-time, that was looking to go full-time, we were gonna look to develop the job description to encompass some of these things. And that still all needs to be sought out, figured out, and then inevitably, our funding contribution to LawPac would have to be increased to cover that increased staff time and now responsibilities, whether we're just reviewing third-party inspections done by a qualified firm, or if we're actually getting our employee certified in site evaluations and going out and doing the inspections personally. One way or the other, we're gonna have to pay for that, whatever avenue would be cheaper, easier, quicker, I guess would be the recommendation.
I guess that's really not the
Just to
discussion.
clarify,
Yeah.
none of that is in place now or discussed or approved really.
Well, I'm just saying that was our assumption.
Well,
And,
yeah.
you know, if it hasn't happened, well, we gotta figure out a way, and maybe that's what you're talking about, I agree. But I really think that that's where it should land, otherwise we go to Lewiston line or sign a new MRU or new agreement that says this inspection process will be shared based on cost usage of the water, and it'd be a whole new agreement. If that's possible, that might satisfy my itch there, but I don't want the city of Auburn or even the landowner to have to, you know, bear the expense of this. We're protecting the lake, and Lewiston should pay their share of what it costs to protect it.
So
Mayor Harmon, I know you guys have been going back and forth, just a few more things. This is delaying, is it 62% of the pollution is coming from upper watershed? Is that the number, somewhere in there? Or is it a little bit more than that?
62% is coming from that.
So this is delaying us just doing a nice package up to the upper watershed towns. We're not prohibiting development or prohibiting expansion. We're causing those developers up there, when they build, to spend more money on environmental issues. Low impact development standards, phosphorus control plans that have been updated, better septic systems with the 24-inch separation. These are all things that if we start getting into the politics of what's going on at the city council and the old council versus the new council, the old mayor versus the new mayor, we're talking months, maybe a year. If we just need to strike LawPEC or another organization to do the inspections, can I finish please?
Yeah.
If we just need to strike LawPEC or another organization, if that's the real rub, then I'm willing to do that and have an amendment to our motion. Otherwise, I mean, unless some of the other trustees want to talk about this, I want to call the question.
Well, I'd say one other thing, Dan. I don't think directing your comments to those other groups is completely ineffective and will do nothing in this process. It's a useless thing to do because those groups are going to be providing their own comments. Every other group has already had their meeting and decided to participate with the city. The city staff is going to be the people that are going to be bringing this forward. So if you want to address comments to someone, I don't think
I
it
thought
should
they were
be
looking
these
for a
other-
recommendation from us.
Not those other groups, just the city.
Oh, maybe this was written up. It's just questions for the trustee, whether or not the city staff, the boards, whether or not we want to send a comment to them. So I was just making the motion to send that comment.
Yes,
I think
believe-
we're on the same page. I think the friendly amendment honestly needs to happen. Dan says whether they want to offer input to the city staff.
Okay.
These are other groups listed, such as they intend to do. It's
So the
just
friendly
referencing-
amendment would be,
Just because you said, what he's saying is you said such as, you're saying directing it at the groups. And not, the question here is whether we want to offer input to the city staff.
but the city staff has been working with us for the last 7 years. They already know that
I
we
completely
support,
agree.
we support the
We've been
ordinance.
working with closely with city.
Does somebody have a friendly amendment to my motion?
So that, I mean, that's what I'm offering here is just to
Add staff?
first say this, because you're saying, what you meant, I think what you intended to say when you read that is city staff. We're not directing our approval of our already established input, all of that. We're not directing it at these groups, we're directing it at city staff.
City staff.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
They
so,
want- Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So change that to.
so I'll retract my motion and, on a follow-up motion, to send to the city staff of the city of Auburn, we the trustees support the existing ordinances which became effective on December 9, 2023.
Is that, you struck the last motion, so this is a new motion?
Yeah.
Does anybody want to second that motion?
Yeah, I'll second it.
So the idea is we're telling staff that we don't have any, at this point, any comment to add to what's already been done these past few years. That will not limit our potential for comment in the future, though, I don't think. I mean, I think we always have the option to send a memo to the city council or to the staff saying we don't like this, or we like that, or something else.
Just to clarify, Andy, I think nobody stopped working with city staff.
Yeah, we
So,
haven't, yeah.
that was my point of clarification in all of this and supporting that, just seconding the motion, is that I think that we are doing that. I think that's the message we would want to send,
Yeah.
and we'll continue. We're not stopping.
We're always looking at new studies and new consultant memos, and that stuff has always come across our table.
Do we actually have to have a motion at all? I mean,
I think we need to tell them we support the, unless, and you have a right to vote yes or no, and so,
I agree. No, I agree.
so I'll call a question.
Okay, the motion is that, and Dan, would you please read it again?
Didn't we didn't already do this?
Well, to me, it sounds like they're looking, they're wishy-washy on the city end. It's somebody, I don't know, I guess maybe it's the mayor, is looking for, do we support the existing ordinances, yes or no? And
I don't think that's the question the council's asking at all. But go ahead. I intend to vote no on this because it's completely ineffective what you're doing. And what you're basically saying is you don't want a seat at the table. The city council has invited you to have a seat at the table. If you don't want to, don't go.
That doesn't say this in here.
That's exactly what it says.
I think the motion implies that we already have the seat at the table.
No,
And
not in this process.
okay.
Okay, so
If that's
so the
what
city's looking
we're being
for
told, then
some
I'm
members of this
surprised.
board to come sit at the table and,
I'd explain again what I said before. They're gonna cast a wide net and get input. If individuals here wanna go, if the board of trustees wanna go and they have some public comment period and give their comment, great. There is going to end up being several groups that are going to be the ones sitting down with city staff hammering out what the language for these ordinance changes will be. Make no mistake, the city manager is going to be bringing recommendations to the council for these changes in some way because the council has ordered him to do that. It's going to happen regardless of what this group does. So I understand where Dan's coming from. What I'm saying is, if it was me, I would not send that motion, because if that's the message that you want to bring, take a vote that says you want to participate, and when they're sitting there hammering this stuff out, somebody from this board can sit there and go, well, we don't agree with what these guys are saying. We think what we've got right now is great. But make no mistake about it, if this motion passes, when the city staff convenes that meeting, it doesn't matter what your previous interaction with city staff is, you will not be there if you pass this motion. That's the way this will work.
so do we
I
have
think
to
that's a fair assessment of the
appoint
motion,
somebody
to be honest.
to,
No, I think we already
that.
have a process which Mike is involved. If we continue that process, if we're not being shut out of the process, hopefully not, I think that's why it seems like,
Well, it seems sad that we're even having to do this now that I get to think about it, because of what you're saying, this motion, that we support the current
It's
ordinance.
so political.
Yeah, if by supporting the current ordinance, that means staff is gonna say, all right, they don't wanna know anything and they're not gonna involve us.
So what, just,
they always have
That-
before.
That
Just
sounds,
for me,
we've always had a
you
relationship
know,
with
so
with
they're hammering
planning.
out the fine details, like what counts as a passing system, what counts as a
We-
failing system, who the inspectors are gonna be. They're working out all these small details, more or less.
We don't know. We don't know.
I'm just,
Well,
Them and their consultants?
We don't know.
we don't know what the answer is going to be, right, to
Right.
these things.
Well, you know-
But as an example, I think, to your point, let's take the inspections, right? From the city's perspective, there are some serious issues with the way that is set up for inspections. So I'll just give you one example from my past experience. LawPac can say they're gonna do inspections all day long, and when a LawPac inspector goes to somebody's property, they do not have to allow LawPac onto their property. And if this happens all the time at the state level with a variety of different types of inspections, what happens then? Then LawPac's gonna have to spend the money to go to the Superior Court to get an administrative order, which they'll get, to allow that inspector on the property to inspect that septic system. So there's all kinds of issues like this. There's a bunch of different potential remedies. One remedy the group may say, leave it as it is. But a number of different groups and the city itself has identified problems with how that inspection methodology is set up. So to your point, they're gonna get these people around the table and they're gonna say, well, should we just say it's LawPac? If so, I'm assuming, I don't know for certain, we'll see what happens at the meeting, the city's gonna say, well, show us that LawPac it has a means to do this. And if they don't, what do we put in, right? So I think it's fine if you guys want to say, we don't really want to be involved in this, we like the way things are, great. But when the day comes when they're hammering out the details of this, no one from the Water Board of Trustees is going to be sitting at that table.
So we can fix that. I'll retract the second motion. The third motion is I motion that the Auburn Water District will be happy to provide input to the City of Auburn, city staff, and at this time, we, the trustees, support the existing ordinances which became effective on December 9, 2023.
Easily second that, I think if that is more clear.
Yep.
Yeah, I think if that's the sense of the trustees, I think that's fine. What that, to me, says is, hey, we want to participate in the process. Whoever we send to the meeting, that's the position they're going to carry forward, representing the Board of Trustees, as we like it the way it is. And that's one way to view it, right? Every one of these groups have their own view of what they think this ought to be.
Yeah,
And
no,
clarifying the participation in the process to me means that if there are changes that we have
All right,
further input
so-
about, then that happens. I think to me
Do we have a
that,
second on your motion?
yes.
Okay, so anybody doing discussion, because I think we're gonna call the question on this, if everybody's happy with this motion.
Should you specify who's gonna be involved? I would like to be part of the process, stay on top of
I
the,
think it'll depend on what this looks like it's gonna be, they're gonna be calling out for people. There's gonna be a board, there's gonna be meetings.
Sure, like LawPac, Dan, I think they probably did at the last meeting, right? I think they identified Camille Parrish and Alan Holbrook, if I remember what they
Well,
told me
that's the
correctly.
ad hoc committee. That'll
that's
be,
the water quality document.
yeah, we'll talk about that soon.
Yeah, and also if they're gonna have a
Good.
meeting and ask the stakeholders, and now we'll be asked to participate, then at that point, we can decide how when we
Right.
go.
I
So
just-
hopefully
I
they're not
think by
close door
default-
meetings and they're not gonna.
By default, we
they're
know
gonna
that
tell us.
also Mike's going to be a part of this,
Yeah,
as
just-
he has been. was-
Right, just like anything else,
We'll
Michael
be
worked with the
Will they be
officers.
public meetings, or do we not know that?
Was one tomorrow night, I heard.
What's that?
There's one tomorrow night, Thursday night, according to Eric Cousins.
When they're hammering out these details, I mean, is this?
Yeah, I would say that
Is it
these
gonna
things
be a
happen all the
workshop?
time, they're not public meetings.
Yeah.
I think there will be public meetings, I don't know what the schedule is yet, but where anybody can come in and
Steve, do you know if
provide
there's a meeting tomorrow night?
input.
I don't believe there's any meeting tomorrow night. May I say another sentence?
Real quick, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
There are going to be several meetings of, as Jeff has suggested, that aren't technically public meetings, but there are people with different kinds of interests in the water or in agricultural groups, but they're just going to be developing some thoughts of their own internally, the way that this group is developing its positions. And then they're going to, so they're doing that early on, so that they'll be prepared to then go to the city staff and say, staff, why don't you organize public meetings with various component groups,
With any
each
changes.
sending members or representatives.
With any proposed changes, okay. So, why don't you just give us the motion again, so I think I like that.
It's on tape too. So I motioned, to send to city staff of City of Auburn that the Auburn Water District will be happy to provide input. And at this time, we, the trustees, support the existing ordinances which became effective on December 9, 2023.
Okay, and we had a second already. All those in favor? Those opposed? 2 opposed? Bob? Okay, then that's what we'll go with. All right. Thank you, Jeff, for that. No. All right, so we'll go on to the next item on the agenda, which is, let me get back to it, sorry, folks. All right, so, next item is appointment of Auburn Water District Representative to the Water Quality Ad Hoc Committee.
So back this past summer, the Water District recommended to the City of Lewiston, the Watershed Protection Commission, and to the City of Auburn to form a Water Quality Ad Hoc Committee. This committee was made up of 2 representatives of each organization. Currently, the current representatives are Kevin Gagne, Tracy Roy from the City of Lewiston, Alan Holbrook and Glenn Holmes from the Watershed Protection Commission, myself and Steve Milks from the Auburn Water District, and Eric Cousins and John Blaze from the City of Auburn. With Steve Milks no longer being on the Board of Trustees, I put this on the agenda to see if the board wishes to replace him as his seat on this ad hoc committee, or Steve has actually reached out and he is interested in staying on that committee if the board would allow him to represent the board. So I raised this question to the board on how you would like to proceed with this. I am looking at, once I get this appointment on the committee, I'm going to be looking to have a meeting to talk about, to continue the business of that ad hoc committee. So
It's been very good. That ad hoc committee has done a lot of good.
it's bridged a lot of gaps between Lewiston, the district, and the City of Auburn, and it was very helpful. It's been quiet for 3 months now, but there's several topics like moving forward with ordinance changes in upper watershed towns and understanding legally how to do that, and also this current action occurring at the city, how to comment onto that. So
Very important.
So yeah, no.
Anybody have any desire of being on this ad hoc committee?
I was hoping you would do it, Andy. You being and had met with Heather, the city administrator, and Kevin Gagne numerous times already. You know the parties. Do you know Camille?
Yeah, I've been heavily involved in this lawsuit.
Yeah. Are you interested in doing it?
Yeah, I would be interested if you guys,
Anyone else interested?
Is there just,
Move that we appoint Amy.
All right, I'll second that.
All those in favor? All right.
One abstention,
I'd
or?
be happy to. No, abstention. One abstention. No, I'd be happy to. I think it's an important thing. You guys have done such great work, and it's helping towards us, hopefully, eventually, killing this lawsuit. That's really the goal, is to stop fighting legally and raising the legal bills on both sides. That really is the ultimate goal. But, all right, on to the next item.
All right. Okay. No problem. Thank you, Brenda.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Hit the road.
Lakeshore Drive. So as you all know, this past year, 2023, and now moving into 2024, has brought with it some really severe weather events, heavy rains, flash floods. On 3 separate occasions in 2023 alone, Lakeshore Drive, there was an overtopping of the road coming in from Townsend Brook. The water level come up over the road. When the water's washing over the road, if traffic's still going through there, it washes the gravel off the shoulders. The water actually running all over the road washes gravel in. And in addition to the intense amounts of runoff that's coming over the road and through the culvert, it's caused a lot of damage to that stretch. There's several stretches if you drive through there now. There's cones along the edge. There's riprap that's been placed and replaced again, holding that road together. The culvert is failed. There is no bottom to that culvert for Townsend Brook. It's undersized. It plugs frequently with debris from beavers they're trying to dam it up to do their business. We have put a lot of pressure through our watershed manager on DOT to address these issues. Right now, the repair of that road is not in their capital improvement plan for the next 5 years, so they're not planning to fix that. To get this moved up on their priority list is extremely difficult, and we have had no luck advocating for that. One thing that DOT did offer was to create an MPI project to the district, which I've never seen this before. Typically, the city is eligible for MPI projects for state aid roads where they'll be doing a reconstruction and DOT will share in 50% of the cost for the reconstruction of that road, whether it be a mill and fill reconstruction or what have you. So this has been approved by DOT up to $1.5 million to make the necessary repairs, including the engineering design of the culvert replacement and the road repairs. We do have to commit to being part of this project, but we would have, I believe I wrote that in here, we would have up to 3 years to complete the work. There's some figuring out to do. Now, we would have to commit to 50% of the funding for that. Is Lewiston, is the city of Auburn willing to partner with us for our portion of the money?
The Auburn Water District would be responsible for road construction?
Correct.
It's in the watershed.
Because it's in the
Yeah.
watershed.
We got a lot of other issues too, millions of dollars of work that needs to be done throughout the watershed.
Really?
It's been identified. This
What-
is just the beginning.
What is the drinking water, what if the drinking water program got involved or notified?
Well-
What kind of pressure could they put on?
Well, we've tried that. We've had the drinking water program write letters, and we've submitted those to DOT, and that has probably helped with the creation of this. I mean, this is an offering of, they're putting up $750,000 towards this, but there's still the other half of that to come up with. I think this is a pretty fair offer. I've never seen or had any history of the district being part of an MPI project. The city was kind of excited by this because right now they currently receive the maximum allowable amount through MPI projects. This would be an additional benefit to Auburn that they'd be receiving from the state above and beyond what the city already gets. So Eric was pretty intrigued by this.
Is that done through Abacog?
This is not done through Avcog. This is through the bridge division of DOT. I guess the tricky part is if we commit now, we have not secured agreements or interlocal agreements with Lewiston for their half of the funding on this. We have not secured an agreement with if the commission would or if the city would. And if we sign this, then we're committing to put up $750,000 for road and culvert replacement. But I would like to work with those other organizations and see if there is the possibility to partner on that funding. This work really does need to happen. It's a problem. It's affecting our water quality, and it will affect the long-term viability of our water supply if it's not addressed sooner than later. But again, we just received notification of this about a week ago. If we did go through this and we committed, and then we got this work done in, say, the next 3 years, we would then have to put up our share of the funds at that time. It's not something we're not obligated to do this in 2024 or 2025 even, but if we do commit, we're obligated to doing it, so.
Now, I was wondering, did the state have anything to say, because didn't they fix a culvert, was it to Tot Lot or something? I thought there was a culvert upstream that they
So
changed.
the city replaced the culvert on the Tot Lot Road. The culvert that was there was undersized, and it would cause back flooding north of that roadway, and it would also overtop that road several
Right.
times. The new box culvert that was put in has much more capacity. Unfortunately, has reduced the flooding north of the Tot Lot Road, but it now causes flooding at Lakeshore Drive because now the downstream restricted culvert is the Lakeshore Drive culvert.
Right, well, that's what
And
I was
that's
wondering.
what's exacerexacerbating our issues.
I was wondering, is there any
Maybe
way
worse, yeah.
to look back?
We've
It's
tried
almost-
to.
It's almost like if you had a dam upstream, that's kind of what it
Can we put
was.
the other one back? I actually
Right,
asked
right.
that question.
Okay, okay.
I asked for a copy of the engineering that was done to size that culvert because it would appear to me it's now causing us problems because
Right.
they didn't look at the downstream side when
Right.
they designed that and put it in and what it's causing now.
Right.
Again, we've been
I'm not
pushing.
trying to point fingers,
No,
right?
and I
Yeah,
haven't
yeah,
been either.
yeah.
But we've never
Yeah.
had Lakeshore Drive over top, and it happened 3 times in 1 year.
Right. and that
Directly
happens
after
they
that one
fixed.
got replaced.
Yeah.
It's a big problem.
Yeah.
This is one possible solution towards getting this fixed. If we don't take this opportunity, when will DOT address it? I don't know.
It won't be until after 5 years.
How soon do we need to give an answer?
Well,
Can
I
we
think-
try to reach out and see
I
if-
think we would have about 3 months to give them an answer to commit to using these funds.
Yeah.
I asked that direct, when do you need a commitment from us by?
Yeah.
And I have not gotten an answer to that yet.
Well, maybe you think that it's possible the city might help? It is a road, Lake Shore
Yeah.
Drive, it is a city road.
Everybody chipped in.
Well, yeah, so, I agree with Mike that I think this is a political pressure solution by DOT that has no legislative authority in their current plans to put money into this. And they've gone around and said, okay, we want to help out, what can we do? So I think you're very fortunate that they've offered this, because lots of times, as you know, they just say, you know, we'll see her in 7, 8, 9 years. So if we have a limited time to do this, I think, I guess the question, I think your point's well taken, right? In the scheme of things, if you're splitting up the it's $750,000 match, right? In the scheme of things, $750,000 match between the water district, Lewiston, Auburn is not a
Oh,
huge
Lewiston, I
amount.
missed that. Lewiston is involved?
Well, we want
Well,
to,
Yeah.
potentially, we don't know, but
But
I'm
this
just
is-
saying, if you
yeah.
take $750,000 and start chopping it up this way in a
Three-way,
CIP,
forward.
in a capital improvement plan, it's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, the first thing I would recommend is that you make sure that Phil Crowell, as a city manager, is very aware of this opportunity, because we are a matter of weeks away from the city council taking up the CIP
Budget,
plan,
right.
and we're going to be, as Andy well knows, planning for the next 5 years, but appropriating money for this coming year. So if
we
you
have
want
time to do that.
you want money in this, now is the time to tell the city what you think you want, because they can, you know, it isn't gonna get done this coming year, but, you know, in the second year or the third year, that's where you wanna get the money. So that's the first thing I would recommend. And the other thing I would think about here is, in my experience, what happened, to Mike's point, let's say you guys say, yeah, we're gonna do this, and we'll do this in the next 3 years. You wanna look at the grant document they give you, and probably have your attorney look at it, but in my experience in the state level, the way this thing happens is, you sign up for this. If you don't do it, no one from the state's coming down here saying, where's our $750,000? They're gonna call up and say, we're taking our $750,000 and using it for something else.
Or something else, right?
You probably don't have a lot of risk by saying we want to do this if you're going to run out of runway in the 3 months while you're trying to get people to cheers. But Mike's point, well taken. There is benefit to all the various stakeholders in doing this work, and at least on the Auburn side, now's the time to get the city manager to put this into the discussion with the city council for the
that's what I would
CIP plan.
I would
agree?
say-
You know what the
I would say make sure that he gets into this, at least half of it, may not be all of it, because if we can get Lewiston involved, it could be a 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So maybe a not to exceed number.
There's the potential that we could get drinking water program, grant funds to help us with our match. There's
Right.
a lot of potentials that we could, and we got 3 years to work on this. The first thing that would need to get done would be the design of the fix. You know, get the design of the fix done. That might cost $150,000, $200,000, and then you know the scope of the project, and then you can say, all right, what else are there for opportunities for funding here? Can we get a 319 grant through DEP to help with this? Can we get some other sort of match money that potentially our split from the water district and from the water division in Lewiston is the grant that we got?
I think we have to start this.
And it might be more than 1.5 million, right? So you do your study and it comes out to $2 million, then you might be going around finding out, well, can we get a grant to get us an extra $500,000?
Right.
I think you should move forward with it myself, I don't know how anybody
Yeah,
else.
I mean,
think
we
got a
really don't have
choice.
much of a risk. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
risk
Well,
there.
we got a risk, but it's a risk we have to take.
I wouldn't
because-
think the ratepayers should be on the hook for that initial investment. I think we should find what the partnership
Yeah, we'll
ability
look
is
into it, yeah.
first, and then come back and make that decision, because I think
Well,
we
yeah.
don't wanna be on the hook for that initial design phase, and then have it all blow up and not even get the, you see what I mean? That
To
there's
Jeff's-
some risk. I
To
think,
Jeff's
is what-
point, if there's no financial risk to signing the commitment, that the only risk is they just take the money away in 3 years because we didn't use it.
Right.
If there's no financial risk to doing that, I would say
Go forward.
go forward with the commitment. But to your point,
But the
it
risk
might,
is time, if the partners don't agree initially, and we're like, we got this opportunity, we're gonna feel like, oh, we really have to just do it, because we got it. We'll put our necks out and put those funds out for the study. At least that's $100,000.
right, no, I
And
wouldn't
we can
move
come back
forward
and
with
get-
any study or design until we determined.
Yeah, come to us for any,
Right.
before any money is spent.
Right,
At least get the information for us and apply for the grant. If there's no risk, apply for the grant. That's what
Just validate that, because I think that's what you're gonna find out. is
Yeah, I think
it
you're
just
right.
Don't
tells
spend no
you.
money until we've had a chance to vote on the items to spend.
Yeah, just after 3 years,
Okay.
okay.
We probably would do it that way anyways.
All right.
Very good.
Yep,
All
absolutely.
right. Does anybody else have anything? Go on to old business.
I'm sorry, gentlemen, I have to leave.
Okay, no problem.
All right.
So, old business, first item, water quality update.
All right, I know we're running long, I'll make this quick. We have had some big storms again this year. They have not lended favorably to water quality. We're running around a point NTU turbidity in the lake right now, which actually is spot on to where we were last year. But if you remember last year, around Christmas break, we had the overtopping of Lake Shore Drive and significant floods. The December 18th storm, which brought about 5 inches of rain and some significant snow melt, raised the lake elevation to some historic levels. We had to open the outlet dam, which we never do in the winter months, but we had to. We were watching it very closely because in addition to letting water out there, the downstream end, the Androscoggin River, was already in flood stage, so we were working with FEMA and emergency folks to make sure we weren't just flooding somebody else out. But we did have the dam open for about 3 weeks in December. We've trended back good again. The lake has been very resilient this year. I will say, if we can survive what we've been going through, then it just proves how good of a water supply we have and how resilient it is, because it's been through an awful lot in the last year as far as environmental impacts to it. It's been I've never seen anything like it. I hope it slows down. I'm glad to see the cold weather and snow. I think you'll see the lake freeze over. I think you'll see it freeze over this week. Some calm weather and cold temperatures are coming, and it should skim over.
The north end is already coated.
Is it good?
Did it turn over again? Is that possible? It seemed like it might have one
It,
of those days.
it did not, but it got stirred up really well.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, huh?
It got stirred up really well, but no, the turnover occurred back in November. So yeah, that's all I had on that.
All right, next item is cost apportionment discussion, my favorite topic.
So at your last trustee meeting, you authorized me to reach out to the city of Lewiston and to request that they restart cost apportionment discussions. They are willing to do this. They have proposed some dates, and we've confirmed some dates, and Andy and I will be meeting with Heather and Kevin on February 5th here at the district office.
Oh, good.
So they have confirmed that, and that's on the schedule. I did put, not knowing if you wanted to discuss this or how you want to discuss it, there isn't an executive session to discuss a legal matter. That's to go with this if need be. If not, then
Well, one thing I'd like
no
to say
need.
is, first of all, the first meeting we had, which was very good, it was kind of a general discussion about where we wanted to go. And it ended with both of us agreeing to do a study on our audit, had an audit company do a study of all of our accounts to make sure we knew which ones, so everybody agreed on which ones were cost apportioned and which ones were not. And then which ones were 50%, and some of them are already based on usage. So we haven't got that done yet. So I think this first meeting is going to be to recap what we talked about before. And I also think this to get an idea, a feel for where they're coming from, because we have these agreements, and we're stuck. The agreement says we pay 50%. The 99 memo clearly says that we are responsible for 50%, and until that goes away, that's it. Unless Lewiston would like to come to the table and work with us. And that's what we're trying to do, is get them to come to the table and talk about what's fair. And we all know that they probably feel like they don't want to do that because it costs them money. You know, it's costing us anywhere from $50,000 to $100,000 a year, and maybe more when you put the Watershed Protection Commission and LawPAC, any inspections that might come about, or if we ever needed filtration. So we want to get it based, all expenses based on usage. So whether we need to get into executive session right now or not, I think that the time might come that we are going to have what you might call a strategy. My fear is if we go and start doing that now before these first initial meetings and get a feel for what's going on, we might cause a suspicion that we're going to come at it with something. Now, if they make an offer, or if they have some ideas, I have no reason to believe that we should go into executive session for a legal matter because we've been offered something or because of something that is, specific.
Mike, were you gonna talk about the second part of our motion last month?
Yeah, I mean,
Regarding the auditors?
and I did reach out, when I reached out to Heather and Kevin, I had your vote basically verbatim in my email that said, we want to talk about the chart of accounts and how this affects, and they said, yeah, let's meet about it. So that's the charge we have when we meet with them, is
And
looking
you
at.
have the chart? You'll have the chart for that?
Well, I won't have it. It'll be, let's get this sorted out of exactly what the chart will be, and then we can pull that together,
Well,
work
I'd
with
be
the
willing to work
auditors.
with you before, because we know we have that report in our packet that talks about what's shared, expenses
Right.
for the filtration part of it, and then we know that there's LawPAC.
Yep.
And we know there's some employees, so it
Yep.
shouldn't be hard to get those three categories of people, so that we can at least show them, this is what we think, not what you think. Or
Right.
maybe you can
What
ask
are
them-
what are we missing? Right.
Right, and that way, now we can get an idea so everybody knows. There-
Yep.
There may be a hidden account here and there that we're gonna have to use our auditors to find, but I don't want them to gaslight us, or to feel like they're gonna put some more red tape to delay what we've started to do here.
I think I can certainly pull that stuff together the week before the meeting, go over it with you, and we'll make sure we have
Yeah,
that stuff for the meeting.
Yeah, at least it would be rough, you
Yep.
know? And then, as far as a strategy goes going forward, then we may need to do something, but, I mean, I want transparency. I don't want them to think like, this is pretty basic. Either you wanna share equally, fairly in the costs, or you don't. If they don't wanna share fairly in the costs, they don't have to, because the legal agreements are all written pretty clear. We have no choice but to follow them, unless they would like to help us rewrite them and change them. Now, there are other options, of course, if we don't want to go down those roads. Those agreements can be terminated. But that's a totally different road that I know.
So I have a couple questions. So in reading the materials here, are you asking for an actual audit firm?
No, our own audit firms that we have,
Yeah.
the agreement at the last meeting was.
Yeah,
we'll ask our
I heard
auditors.
that. So you're talking about not just having a financial accounting that could be done by an accountant. You want an actual certified auditor to do this work?
To pull the accounts out that are shared. Only find those
And-
accounts out that are shared.
Yeah, I understand that. And so has the audit firm that,
H.R. Smith.
yeah, have they committed to you in a time frame that they'll do this?
No, only because what happened was Lewiston said, we want to do this, but we'll get back to you. And then
Yeah.
budget season happened and then the lawsuit
Yeah,
happened.
I understand that.
So
I
we
guess
don't know.
my question is that you may be waiting a very, very long time if you're going to engage an audit firm to do this. I'll just give you an example. In the city of Auburn side, our 2023 audit is due in March. The earliest we will see that is the next November because of the backlog that these audit firms have. So I would just keep that in mind if they haven't committed to you, because it seems like this is a near-term thing that's easily accomplished. You only have two entities, everybody knows what the accounts are. So what I understood when I read this was you were asking for an actual audit firm to do this, which may be take a lot longer than you think
at
and
the
be a
time,
lot
yeah.
more costly than
And
you
you may be
think.
right, because at the time we did this, that wasn't an issue. Your audit people, we're not, the problems were not like they are.
Yeah, like they are
We
now.
do have an audit company that's coming to do our audit soon, right, anyway.
Wasn't the reason why we went that way is because Lewiston has the exact same company?
And Lewiston had the same company, right, so we both had
Oh,
the
Charles
same.
Smith.
Yeah, but that's why I asked, if you ask them, if they committed, that, you know, because you don't want them to say, yeah, we're happy to do that, and we'll start in 11 months.
Yeah, well, that would be help, you're right, good point.
Well, no,
I think
it's-
maybe that would be where we come up with what we propose, say, this is what we see are the accounts that need.
Right.
So you'll find out when you talk to them,
Well,
right?
that's it. I wasn't part of the last meeting process. I mean, it's been almost a year and a half since the last meeting on
Maybe
this.
2 years, yeah.
You know, going there, where they're gonna come here, we're gonna talk about this, we'll be able to provide our information. You know, there's a potential that we could come up with this with our own staff, and as long as we're all happy with those numbers, we can run that route if we need to outline what we need from the auditors. To Jeff's point, we scheduled our audit for 2023 a year ago, and it's set to begin here
Right.
in the next month or two. You know, they're a year out. I don't know if we went to RHR Smith, even though they do our audit and Lewiston's audit. If you ask them for a special task, how far down the road you get put on their schedule, I don't know. But there's a potential that through our staff and Tracy Roy and Lewiston, their staff, that we could get what we're looking for.
Or if you
Right.
want a third-party accountant just to look at the stuff, you can get an accountant pretty quickly, right?
Well, we have our own accountant that can do it too.
Yeah.
I know which
So
ones
you
are
might,
here.
I would just keep that in mind, because can sometimes be very challenging trying to schedule actual audit firms.
Right.
Good point.
Yep.
Very good point.
Yep.
So I think that's gonna be an interesting meeting, and then hopefully it'll be one of many to get us there, along with the ad hoc committee. I hope that we can get this thing.
The other question I have is, it's not clear to me as a new person, what's the scope of, for lack of a better term, this negotiation? I get it, it's for fair apportionment, but what pieces of this are you asking to be included in the accounting? From what I just heard Andy say, it's the law pack operations and the pumping treatment facility. Is that the scope of what you're asking Lewiston
And there's
to
a
review?
1999 memo that said that 50, anything that had to do with water quality.
Lakeshore
other
Drive,
than
for instance.
filtration, like Jake,
So I understand
A new
that.
filtration
but
plant.
The issue isn't, so there's a number of the potential areas, but if I'm hearing this correctly, the two areas that you're asking to be examined is the shared cost, for lack of a better term, the water quality stuff that's like law pack and all that stuff. And the second piece is the operational piece for what goes on out on Pumping Station Road for the treatment of the water and the
The
pumping of
treatment's
the water.
already set. The treatment, that's one of the things that happened was the treatment part of it is a portion based on usage.
Yeah.
But it's everything else that's 50-50.
Could we get the mayor the sewer apportionment agreement? Maybe email that to him? Just same thing, but water.
Mhm.
We're
Well,
already-
sewer's,
It's
sewer's,
different.
Sewer's a little
because you
bit
have-
different.
sewer's different.
So if I'm understanding you correctly, Andy, the part out at the plant is already apportioned?
Yeah, once the water's in the plant, it's a portion based on usage.
So-
Just chemicals though, right?
Just
At the plant.
chemicals and then, yeah, some of the, that's right. 'cause like the computers
Chemicals,
and things like that.
electricity, equipment purchases.
We have some employee relationships that are kind of gone.
Things
political.
like
we have,
gold.
we pay, we have a
Pay
manager,
one,
we
pay
pay
the
another.
other. Treatment.
Law Pec funding, goal management, these are all 50-50 stuff that could be 64,
Right.
36.
We hire one employee and
So-
pay for
so-
them, they hire somebody and pay for them.
Yeah, so it's not the point from when you pump the water out of the lake to how you run it through the building before it splits into Lewiston and Auburn's pipes. It's really more about the water quality
Right.
issue.
Managing the water
Okay.
quality. And that's all 50-50 right now.
Mhm.
So like this culvert, which helps at Lewiston very much, but there's no agreement.
Yeah,
to
and
force them to pay
and
their fair share.
from what you just said, Andy, what you think the differential is $50,000 or $100,000
Between
a year?
60 and 100,000 a month. I mean,
A year.
At least. And that doesn't include LAWPAC. I think with LAWPAC, it's more than that. We never, if we could get them to go cost apportionment on LAWPAC, it could be even more than that.
Think of a $45 million filter plant, how that would be portioned. Of course,
If
that
it
would be a
was
separate
50-50.
agreement.
Yeah,
So
so
right
that's
now,
not,
if
that's
they-
not on the table right
If
now.
10 years from now, if they're used to the 60/40, then when the filter plant comes along, it's gonna be.
Oh, we had
it's
like
gonna be
recently an
hard.
alum treatment,
Mhm.
and it was always 50-50, so they just went ahead and did it. Well, we paid 50% of was it $1 million?
Oh, yeah.
800,000.
800,000.
And that drove a city council resolution that said, anything that we do from here on out, and again, it's like telling Lawpick to do inspections, but
That doesn't really mean
I-
anything.
it was a resolution that said, anything we do from here on out, we're to do based on water usage.
Yeah, which is meaningless really to this
Well,
board,
it
because the city
it
of
isn't if you
Auburn.
think of our ratepayers as also taxpayers in the city of Auburn.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's like saying because somebody's, you know, I'm not on city water now, but I used to be, and that's like saying because I'm a ratepayer and I lived on Trask Avenue, that the Board of Trustees ought to weigh in on what the mill rate is for Auburn. It's two
No, I get that.
completely
It's a
different.
quasi,
All right.
different quasi.
I guess we'll move on to the next, so, I mean, that's good, we got the 5th.
Yep.
And anybody got any, anything they want to send me?
Anyone
what they
thinks
wanna
anyone,
add?
send it to Andy or I will.
And, anything they'd like to be in part of that discussion, we'd be happy to, okay? So we'll go on to the next item, which is the commission update.
All right, commission update. The commission is working to redo the 2024 budget to accommodate the district's 0% increase for 2024. As I reported earlier, the education outreach coordinator did resign at the end of 2023 because the lack of funding meant they would not have a full-time position for this year. So we'll have to work on how we fill that. A couple other points I wanted to bring up about commission business. So at the last trustee meeting, this board adopted an amendment to the basic agreement. City of Lewiston Council made the same adoption. I have a meeting request out to the town manager for the town of Turner because they aren't a party to that basic agreement and they need to basically agree with this amendment that says that we will notify 30 days notice to all interested parties if we wish to make any future watershed boundary changes, and that any final change to the watershed boundary will be approved by the drinking water program. So I've reached out to the town manager, waiting a reply to get that information to them. Lastly, the commission at our last meeting, as you know, there's been a lot of discussions and studies revolving around the Grace Lawn Pit area and properties owned by Gendron and Gendron. There was a recent redelineation of the watershed boundary in that area that we adopted, the drinking water program has adopted, and there's a new watershed boundary there. There are other areas inside of our current watershed that the developer is interested in further pursuit of, can it be redelineated again to move the watershed boundary closer to the lake and further to the west to open up more properties to get them outside of the watershed. So some of the discussions have been involving, CDM Smith did the initial work, the 3D modeling to show that you could redelineate to make the last adoption. They gave a presentation or proposal to do further work, would cost around $143,000. The commission basically said they were tapped out. They're not going to further study this. If the developer was interested in pursuing this further investigation, then they could pursue that. The problem then ran into CDM Smith was the commission's consultant. Who is to do this work? Should the contractor do it on their own with their own consultant? Then the commission would have to use CDM Smith to do a peer review of that. At one point, the commission took a vote to have CDM Smith do the work for the commission, but be funded by Gendron, the property owner. So the initial phase of that, a site walk, was done with that model. At this last meeting, the commission took the vote that they're not going to continue with that model, that the property owner should pursue their own consultant to do this work, and that the commission would just review that once that work was done. So that's basically the latest action taken by the commission. I know that staff did get that back to the owner's rep. I'm not aware of how they're proceeding at this time, but I just wanted to make sure the board was aware of those actions.
Okay,
So that's what I had for commission update.
very good. All right.
So I do want to take number 11. We do not need to move forward with 10, but if we could go into number 11.
We had the superintendent review was on the.
Oh, yeah, so superintendent review, just to update on that, I know that the sewer district board is about a step behind us.
Okay.
they still need to get 2 of their members' feedback to Jason on this process. The chair of the sewer board is aware of being involved once this is brought together through this process and being involved in moving this forward, but they are kind of a step behind this board, so.
I think we can light a fire. And,
Right.
Far because of so much overlap, but.
Right. But yeah, the executive sessions to partly talk about that, but also partly about another matter, so.
Okay.
And the way we've handled that in the past, I don't know if, yeah, I emailed Mike about this, is we first would chat about the results that we've collected, invite Mike back in, present
Yep.
him with that, and then kind of go from there, depending on what we, if anything comes of it. It's just kind of more of a presentation process.
You just have to wait to get the final 2 to do their thing. And then we
Well, no, I think we proceed with our process independently, like we have, and then they would get theirs wrapped up and just
Okay.
do the kind of the same thing. It's really the same thing as we just like meet quickly. I have a memo to present just to the board, and then we decide if we agree, we present that to Mike, and
Okay, when do you want to do that?
right now, I think it's
We'll
right,
do that right
this
now?
item, yeah.
Okay, we're running a little bit of time, so we'll take,
Yeah, let's go to executive session for it.
is that what the executive session?
Yes,
Oh,
exactly.
Okay, all right, then we'll end that portion, we'll go on to our executive session.
So but executive session,
The legal
number 11,
Number
right?
11,
We're
we're gonna skip
skipping-
number 10, we don't need number 10.
Skip 10,
But we are gonna skip to number 11, an executive session in accordance with 1 MSRA 4056C to discuss a personnel matter. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
I was just leaving.
See you later.
And we'll do
We are-
All right, and then
I have a feeling we'll be really fast.
I do have an item
Thank
to
you,
bring
Dan.
up,
Thank you.
other personnel matters,
Yep.
not this, so.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
we are in
So
executive
we'll
session.
invite you back in,
Shut the
just to, we don't have to
Yeah,
come
the
out.
camera's off.
Mike, I don't think because of this, we have to come out.
No, we do not.
Back in,
No.
we'll just.
No, we don't, because it's still a personnel.
All right, you're on.
Great. All right, I will declare us out of executive session. Next item on the agenda is the trustee open session, if anybody has anything.
2 quick items. One is a public service announcement at the senior center tomorrow night at 6 p.m. is citizens and some staff from the city of Auburn talking watershed ordinances. So
And
if you
that's at the
guys,
senior center tomorrow?
tomorrow night at 6 p.m. And then also future agenda item, upper watershed.
The
Needs to get on the-
presentation to the upper watershed towns.
Well, we need to talk about how we should proceed with that. Because we're getting the
Yep.
thumbs up from LawPac on that, so,
Good.
and the city, of course.
Good.
Okay?
So just to follow up on the public comment, I agree, we should have some kind of a public distribution list. I thought we agreed on it years ago. I don't know, nothing formal vote was taken that I remember, but it may have been the president's authority to make that change. I don't know if we need to vote on it or put it as an agenda item. To me, it seems
I think we
simple
need to vote
that
on
we
it.
have a notification system that goes to
Well, I think we
emails.
should.
People sign up for emails and they want to be notified when the agenda comes out.
I think
That's fair
yeah.
communication for me that.
It was hard news to deliver to them that I'm sorry I can't email this to you anymore.
Yeah, I think
So I don't know how
I don't
that
think we
happened,
voted
but
for
I-
that or not, but-
No, it was just a,
Maybe a technicality, if we need a vote next meeting or now, I will.
well, there wasn't a vote to stop it, so if you're telling me to start sending them out again, I will.
And I don't think we should take direction necessarily from individual trustees.
Keep it open.
The President, I think.
Yeah.
As long as you maintain a
There's
list,
some
you
there,
know
but
who's on
Yeah.
the list.
But if it's on our website when it's supposed to be, it wouldn't be necessary.
yeah, and that's the other part of my comment is, can you just please request, or put President direct you to please request access to upload that? Because there's no reason they can't give you a link to say, here, upload it, it'll go directly onto the site. And
Well,
if
that
there
was
is, then
part
we
of the
need
deal.
a
When
new
we
web.
decide-
We're not on that new website.
Oh, we
We're
still
still
have,
on the old one. That never got wrapped up.
So did we owe them money or something, or what was
No,
the?
they owe us the training and the startup.
Okay,
wow.
well,
It,
can we,
it just turned into it just seemed like it was never gonna come, so we.
wanna
That was
appoint
Kelly,
one of us to, I'll reach
Well,
out
Sid
and
gave
say
him a
what the
real
heck's
hard
going on, because
Yeah, he
Steve
did.
was in charge of that, and I don't know what happened, so maybe he got lost in the weeds.
I will follow up with you folks on that next meeting, but,
I mean,
yes.
I don't even think, I think we should just reach out to him tomorrow. I personally feel like doing it. We paid for this service, like, why are we getting the whole sales pitch was that we would get,
It's created, but what happened is we never got the training on startup of it and the back end maintenance. So how do we actually make these? We never got the training scheduled. Like, hey, we're ready. Hey, here's the list. Send it to me. Send it to them. Let's do this. We just never got it. I will get that
Sorry to
completed.
add to your-
No, that's fine.
We'll do the list, mail out list anyway, too.
Yep.
All right,
that
anything
should
else?
be an easy request, a form or something on our site, if people request it, and you just add to the list.
Do I hear a
Second.
motion?
Whatever we have.
Second, I hear a motion to adjourn, I hear a second, all in favor?
Yes, sir.
We're done. All right,
Go.
thank you guys, thank you everybody.
Yes, thank you all.
Thank you all.